Mm. Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to Luke. Not Luke to Luke. Heart to Heart with Dr. Luke. How are you all? How's everyone? Hi. Oh. So today, wow, some of you hopefully will be doing this with me. I don't know, with your babies. In a couple years, some of you have become my very good friend. Sometimes colleagues. The first day when I'm wanted to be a medical personnel, I get to know. I swear to myself that I'm going to, well, every doctor should be taking care of the patient, like their family, friends. So as my cousin sometimes will call me, hey Janelle, what about egg freezing? Or I have my in-laws, relatives, they call me. So everyone becomes a friend. And I sometimes I talk to you a lot. I love to talk. Yeah, well, my good thing and bad thing. Because then patients will be waiting. The second patient will be like, Dr. Luke, So, and Kate is one of my patients from long time ago. And I'm now going to invite her today. And I haven't seen her since she moved. So she's going to tell you her story. And let me see if I can get her to our show. Introduce herself. And all of you guys in the future, when you come on Instagram and trying to protect your privacy. Hey, Kay! Oh my God! You same as I met you. 2 years now? How old is the baby? 2?
No, the baby is 6 months.
6 months, sorry.
Yes. And I haven't seen you since last February.
2018, right?
2019.
Sorry.
It's been about a year.
I felt like it's been 2 years with COVID-19. So
I know. So good to see you. Mwah. Kisses.
Mom. Yes, and I have I know you are very good with Instagram. First of all, I didn't know about
This is
Instagram.
my first live video, so
okay, great. Because I know I see lots of your own followings, and one time I think you tagged me. There's something called tag. You see,
yeah.
My new thing, and I didn't know you tagged me back when the baby was born, which is I don't know, 6 months ago or something. So I discovered the picture afterwards. So just
no, we're so grateful. You changed my whole family's life, and we will always hold you in our hearts.
Well, thank you for joining me, because I know you've been I think you're writing a book. I didn't know about this. My staff just told me you're doing something to share your
I'm very excited to be here because I have been working on, I'm going to be writing a book about my IVF journey, like a totally brutally honest account of what it really feels like. Because I couldn't find anything like that when I went through the process. And I did so much therapy and so much self-care, had so many support groups going. I didn't start with any of that, but going through the process, I realized it was essential. And I just feel like nobody's talking about this, and everybody is going through it or knows someone very close to them who's going through infertility. So it's a major health crisis.
Yes, it is. I think social. As you may know, Kate. I don't know if you know, but my audience. Sometimes I feel like I'm repetitive, but I don't know who I said this to. But sociology is one of my passion, and I'm Chinese, and
Yes.
Why I became a women's health advocate was my mom was given away because she was a girl. And so I really, since high school years, I wanted, Kate, maybe I never mentioned this to you, but I always wanted to do women's healthcare. I didn't know it can be endocrinology, it can be oncology.
Wow.
But I picked, and I love research and I love science. And yes, I'm a nerdy little
You're
girl.
like a genius. I
No,
love to
I'm
know
not a
that
genius, but
you have a
um,
degree from
but
all of the
I
Ivy League schools. Not just one, but like half of them.
and oncology. I love. My hands is very slim, so I'm very good with surgery and tying knots. But it was very tough for me because I become it's like this very close with a patient, so you cannot cry every time someone diagnosed cancer. So I discovered and I couldn't sleep during my training. So because of that, then I want something different, and so there's maternal fetal health. Obviously, there are different specialty for 3, 4 more years of training, and I chose infertility because I think it's a field that I think sociology and empowerment have affected us a lot because
Yes.
of the women's movement and many things. We now can get jobs, we can vote, and many things in the 1900s that women have achieved. I'm a big fan of Billie Jean, so I went through like what she had gone through to even fight for tennis, and like, wow, I didn't know that happens. You only get $1 or something. You don't get paid. And Yale Medical School, also the first woman doctor was 1960s for admission to Yale Med, where I went and graduated. So those are great stories. Can you imagine fighting? And it still happened today because I went to a very traditional institution like Brigham up, excuse me, not great school. I'm not trying to say they're being sexist or anything. It's just hard because there's a culture of people and you have to fight it. And in any case, what I'm trying to say is I think sociology have affected us women a lot, and I think we got the rights to work and many things, and we may delay the biological years because I can imagine having a baby when I was 29. I was still at Yale Medical School or in residency working about 100 hours a week, and have a child. So
Wow.
and so this is not easy.
I think that we all have our time, and it's hard to tell when that is, and it's changing from the previous generation of when they had children. And I also have a career that I love and that I'm very proud of and that I still love. And it was always, I never saw it as like work or be a mother, but I definitely think that it just naturally, uh, I just had kids later. I had my first child naturally when I was 36. I had a miscarriage at 35 before I had my first child. I thought it was very hard to get pregnant the second time around.
How long did you try? And Kate, yes, thank you for starting the conversation. I'm going to ask you a little bit more, and you can, again,
Yeah.
because of many
No, I'm
things,
an
I'm your
open book.
doctor. I try to,
I'm
yeah.
happy to
So
share, but I just wanted people to know that I have experienced loss. I've experienced a lot of deep pain, and I've also experienced the other side of that. And that is really the message that I want to share is that there is always, the feeling of losing and then the feeling of winning once you get to the other side. And the winning is not in the traditional sense of winning, but winning could mean so many things. It just means that you have to go through the growth process and the transition of your journey. So basically, when I was 36, my daughter, who's now 6 years old, was born, and
she was easy. Well, you had a miscarriage.
we had a miscarriage before I had her, and that was sort of devastating because you always think these things happen to other people and they're not going to happen to me. And they happened to me, and they had never happened to my mom. They'd never happened to my sisters.
And how late was the miscarriage? Was it at 8 weeks? Was it a?
It was, I think it was at 8 or 9 weeks.
And do we know why?
No, just
Okay.
nature. And anyway, after I had my daughter, we were so fortunate, and we thought, okay, we'll try again. Maybe when she was 6 months old, we tried. And then it went for about 2 to 3 years of me tracking my ovulation. And I was so in denial. I was like, I don't have infertility. I'll beat this. I beat everything else in my career. I'll just work harder. I'll track it closer. I'll buy more calendars. And more time kept going by. And I think I was in denial. I was completely in denial. And when I was 40, I finally went to my first of my 3 fertility doctors and sort of we did 2 IUIs, which were, I think, a complete waste of time because they created so many tears, so much heartache.
So actually, Kate, I'm so sorry. I want to recap. You had your baby, and I know lots of this stuff, obviously, because
Yeah.
but I want to make sure the audience knows, because what you went through is very, like, you didn't suddenly have something happen to you. You actually just had a baby,
Yeah.
and then you breastfeed like ordinary, like, I don't know, 1 year, and then
Yeah.
basically then you start tracking for 2, 3 years. So now we're talking about the age of 37, 38, and 39. Would you say around that age?
Exactly. And I was like, oh, I know people who have gotten pregnant naturally after 40, no problem. I can do it. I can will myself to do it. And the very short story is that we finally went to a fertility doctor when I think I was 40. And there was just so much fear and so much, you go into the office and you have to wait so long to meet the doctor. And it's this, I don't know, very hush hush process. And anyway, I went through 2 doctors before I found you. And when I found you, I had done 2 rounds of IVF, both failed, both no insurance covered, so out of pocket. Uh, Very highly renowned doctors that had been recommended to me. Um, and
And you went to 2 places, right? And you tried
2 different
IVF.
places, and you know what? It didn't work. So
So did you do one IVF at one place and one IVF? And there's some studies also on patients, how many
I did
times.
2 IVFs I did 2 IUIs with one doctor, 2 IVFs with another doctor.
Got you.
And I just think that, everybody is different. Every body is different. Every uterus is different. Every ovary is different. Everything. And when I met you, I was convinced that I had to do something different. I wasn't going to keep doing what I had been doing with other doctors because I was so angry that it wasn't working. And I was so mad at those doctors because I didn't feel a connection with them. And I felt like I had been let down. And someone told me, they're like, you should try what's called gentle IVF. It mimics your body's natural way of ovulating with a little oomph, like enhancing it with drugs, but not the amount of drugs I was taking before. And I said, okay, I'll try it. And my friend suggested that I call you. She goes, you have to talk to like the queen of gentle IVF, or queen of mini IVF, which is also known as.
No, gentle sounds great. I love the word gentle.
Gentle
And light.
IVF.
Actually,
And I
I'm
was
trying
like,
to do a
oh, this
different
is
term.
perfect.
A light IVF, something
And
called light, not
I
heavy.
and
Light.
I was warned that you were a rock star, like not a normal kind of fertility doctor. And when I came in for the first time, I remember like you have such a tremendous energy, and you often will like be having 3 conversations at once, and you're just smiling and laughing. And I was like, who is this doctor? Like, I don't even understand what she's saying. But I just loved your positivity. And
That's a good point.
you were
Okay.
like, who cares about your age? No big deal, you know. And anyway, you just had such a different approach. And basically, so I can go right into sort of what I did with you if that's helpful for people. But
Yeah, sure. You got a question right now. I'll do write down all the questions. I don't want to cut in.
okay,
And
I have some
so
questions that people asked me as well earlier, but I just wanted to start off by saying that what I did with you was I was 42 when I came in to meet you. And I was like halfway through a cycle. I was halfway through a month, and I left my other doctor. I was supposed to come in for tracking, and I was like,
oh, now remember, yes.
F you, I'm never coming back in this office again. I was like, I'm done. I'm breaking up with you. And I called Dr. Luke's office, and I like begged to come in. I think I was on like day 12 of my cycle. I came in. You were like, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. And you didn't put me on very many drugs at all. And we banked eggs for 4 months consecutively. I did October, November, December, and January. And from those 4 months, I think I ended up with 5 viable embryos that we were able to freeze. And of those
And it was
5,
blastocysts in my memory, right?
yeah,
Blast. Okay.
yeah. And keep in mind that when I previously had done IVF with my other doctor, they did genetic testing and they were like, these are horrible embryo, like these we won't implant these. So I never even had a chance to do it. They threw them out. And with you, I decided I was going to do no genetic testing, and I was going to let nature be my genetic testing, because you always said that your professor in medical school at Yale said that day 5 blast was poor man's genetic testing or something.
Yes, poor man's PGT. If you
Yeah.
cannot afford biopsy, the screening from day 3 to day 5 is part of it. Yes.
So I thought, I'm going to just see how the eggs or the embryos progress. But just so everybody knows, I went from being able to retrieve 1 or 2 eggs in 1 month into the very next month. I think I had October, you took out 2 embryos.
Mm-hmm.
November was about the same.
Mm-hmm.
December, you took 10 eggs out.
Mm-hmm.
It made me cry because I was like, no one ever told me I could even make that many.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But it turned out to be, I think we froze 1 or 2 of them. And so, which is all to say, it was a total roller coaster ride.
And how many did we transfer?
2.
We transferred 2. And
you were saying only to transfer 1, and I was like, I want to put it 2. And you were like,
but you also, in my memory, your grading was one of the most beautiful. Like I can't have some feeling and to it, and I didn't want you to go crazy because
well, you
at that moment it was hard
like,
for you.
You're like, yeah, we want you to get out of here. You're like, I don't want you to keep coming back here. I want you to be done. And I just said I wanted to put all of them in because I was convinced that it wasn't going to work. And so I just think that my message to everybody is just, it's an unknown. You don't know what you don't know. And the only way to go through this whole process is just to stay with it. And it is really, really, really hard. But if you can get through it, you need to keep going.
I want to share the audience, and Kate, it's okay. I share some of our interaction, which is more, Kate just told you guys she has been doing this for a long time.
It was like a 6-year process.
And this is now 42, right? I forgot. I thought you were 40, but I now remember you were
42 when I came in to meet you.
Came meet me.
On day 12 of my cycle, and you like took me in, put me on like a little bit of like Clomid. I don't know. That was some very
yes.
It was like barely anything. And then you did a retrieval and the eggs came out really, really healthy. And my previous doctor was getting nothing. So I think that I don't even know. I don't know.
Okay, so let me be mindful, and I want to put everything in context because
please.
Kate is obviously a very special person, and to be in contact with me. And yes, she had a success. And Dr. Luke, have you had failures and all your questions in your mind? And I want to put all in context because this session is not to. This is not propaganda. Like, it's not like people having commercials. I actually don't know marketing, and you can see how crazy I am with Instagram. I don't even know how to deal with it. So I want is to really the ultimate truth, what patients are going through. I just this for the audience. And as a doctor, I want to tell you how I feel. When I met Kate, I was, and this is every day. But I did went to Yale and went to Brigham, one of the top programs. So pressure to me is like every day is like lunch and breakfast. And it is really, really tough. But I'm very excited because I feel like I can win. That I get very excited because if I'm going to lose, I'm not going to
your energy is infectious. like I said, when I walked into your office, your nurses were like, oh, Dr. Luke is the best. They're like, she's a rock star. She's just like, you're in good hands. And I was like,
but I sometimes I get very competitive. Patient asks me and I feed off from you guys. So I never push. When the patient, if Kate come and told me, Dr. Luke, I'm only here for 1 more cycle, I'm it. You're my 3rd doctor, and if, let's say, her tears down her eyes, I would have not. I never push Kate. They say 1 more, 2 more. Now,
no, you didn't. I pushed myself.
I know, but lots of you in the audience, they say, Dr. When are you recommending this? Or, oh, you're 4. Maybe we can do the same thing like Kate. The issue here is there's no one magical formula, which makes you all of you so special. and all of your cycles are not the same, which makes my job very, very tough.
Right.
Because I cannot say, Kate, let's do the same thing as last month. I mean, I would try to learn from your last month, but I cannot a copycat and say, well, let's next 3 months we're doing the same thing.
Right.
I can't. And this is where especially when someone has not, and we're not here names and we don't want any bad things, is Kate went to somewhere very renowned, famous, whatever. Everyone refer Kate. Kate, you did lots of research before you found your first and second doctor, right? Or
yeah. Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah,
So
I do a lot of research. I mean, it's like I'm a New Yorker.
Yes, I know. Okay, I remember how you do. Yes. So Kate already did all research, and now it's like a two battles lost, and now you come to and say, Luke, are you here to do it or you're not able to do it? That basically was what was given to me. Now, I don't say I would definitely win. I never told Kate that either, but I felt that there was hope. I see her ovaries and saw something, and that's when I usually start to say, hey, Kate, let's go. I think I can do it. And when I see the protocol didn't fit, like I see something doesn't match, it's like you're watching people doing something. Kate, I know some of your moms or some of your, like, something was not right. Let's say right now walking down New York City, Park Avenue, someone not wearing a mask. You're like, wrong.
Right.
Wearing a mask. That feeling, like I'm like, like, oh, I could do better maybe. So that was like that's how I feel. And some of you who, and it's an art of science. So there's no way I would predict.
Totally. I love that you said that, the art of science, because I had put all my trust in these other previous doctors, not realizing that I could have my own input into the process and that I could make choices. I had put everything on the doctor. And then with you, I felt like it was really like this conversation, and we were kind of like collaborating to make it happen.
And that is really, I'm your cheerleader as well as your fertility friend. And one of the things I've discovered is we all really need friends, because I cannot predict, and no doctors can predict, when is the egg coming. And this is the toughest, or give you false hope or good hope, but also a toughest thing for a patient and a doctor. And a doctor should and able to admit that I cannot promise you that this is the egg. And most of them do, because of liability, America, malpractice, they will say that. But what are we going in for? The unknowns is what I usually tell my patients, that the unknowns can be so hard. Now, how do you feel about the process? Like, how do you even have to endure something, a voice in you? Because I always ask patients, some patients will do one, some patients will do two, but how did you do the cycle? Like, even coming to me, what was the feeling? What was that make you feel like you make the right decision? Or, I mean, of course, we have a baby now.
I have to say it was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. And I just went out on a limb because I just knew that I couldn't continue what I was doing with my previous doctor. I knew that wasn't going to work. So I thought, I really need to try something different, and not just switching doctors, but switching the dose of drugs. And then deciding with you to doing yes testing, whereas previously we had done testing, because there was also this huge cover article in New York Magazine in like 2017. Really rocked the infertility world. I think everybody should Google it. It was something about, Google like New York Magazine infertility genetic testing, and you'll get the article. It was a cover story, and it was saying how sometimes when they genetically test embryos, it doesn't reflect accurately if the embryo is healthy or not. So you could be throwing away a potentially viable embryo. And there's a whole thing in the infertility world. There's two sides to this argument, but
yeah, and I'm going to talk a little bit, because this morning I also had a conversation with a patient about when to test, and Dr. Luke, how can you suggest Kate to do this, or suggest Mary not to do this, or suggest Anne to do this?
But I came in and I said, I'm not going to do testing. I'm going to put them in, and if they end up in a miscarriage, that's nature's way of ending that process. And I just went for it. I mean, I honestly.
Kate, did you test before you came to me?
Yes.
And how many eggs? One of the audience was asking, how many eggs did you get before?
I got 1 egg in one cycle and 2 eggs in another cycle, so a total of 3 eggs. And
you mean 3 embryos?
3 embryos. Sorry, there were.
So you may have got 6 or 7 in 1 or 2 second cycle.
No, I think I actually I can't remember right now.
Okay.
But it wasn't very many. It was like I was 42 when I was doing this, and it was like I wasn't getting very many. And I just knew that I was just sort of at the FUCK it stage. I was just like whatever. I was just like, I'm gonna try everything I possibly can. I'm just gonna go for it. And you kind of somehow gave me confidence that that's okay. That was okay to try something totally different.
Yeah, no, I actually remember that day when we talk about it. It's hard for me for your history, and I will talk to audiences because you did have a miscarriage. Because
Yeah.
I can give you another miscarriage since we didn't test it. So this is also a patient-physician patient sharing plan. Because if you tell me you're very scared to have another miscarriage, or you say I cannot tolerate, I will die, Dr. Luke, because at 35 or 36, when you had your first miscarriage, if that happened to you and you don't want to have it again, I would have told you to test it, because we got so many.
Right.
And you have and the quantity, and some of you who are my patients may know, I always say, if you have quantity, test it, because I don't want you to go through Kate has 5, she had to go through 3 transfers, or at least she's not going to transfer all 5
no,
in.
I did 1 transfer in my 5 years of my infertility journey. I only did 1 transfer, and that was with you, and it worked.
Right. And yes, and the cycle worked, and so forth. And also, Kate, in terms of timing, I'm so glad you didn't come to me at 43, because at 42, once is this a age? Is this?
But I was 43 when I had the baby.
Yeah, I know.
So everybody knows that. And I have, it's really burning inside me to say this out loud, but I had a friend who had like over 15 miscarriages, and she went on to have children, and her second child was born when she was 45. And so I had that conversation with that friend. And that's why I think every woman who goes through this process needs to talk about this, because if I hadn't known that, I feel like knowing that gave me some ammunition. Like there's a small window that things can work. Do you know what I mean? Like every piece of information that you have is essential.
And I think at the end is a voice inside a woman. I think I do believe in woman's body, woman's wisdoms. I really, sometimes I'm just feeding off from your ovary and feeding, because I can't, I'm not your ovary. I can't give you eggs. So, I mean, I'm also feeding off at how to work with her, because it's not her issue. Does she have a good companion? Like, and I think those are very, 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 important. So. Oh, there's some questions. So, one was asking you grading. Do you remember, Kate, the grading?
Yes. Of the embryos that we put in, one was a 5
BB or
BB, I think, and one was a 4 AB or something. But I want to preface that by saying that my previous doctors, my gradings just a few months earlier were like C, and they were like day 7, day 8, and like CD. Like they were much, much worse. So I had also dramatically changed my lifestyle and my diet. Right in between the failed IVF sessions with my previous doctor and when I met you, I stopped eating dairy, meat, caffeine, alcohol, and only ate whole foods.
What about gluten? It's a big thing, and I'm trying to do.
I was like, I was going to try everything. I just I cold turkey went on the elimination eating program, and I was working with an amazing acupuncturist, Dr. Angela Lay in Manhattan.
And that's how you found me, Kate.
No, it's not. Well, I had another person recommend as well.
Okay.
Yeah, no, she knew you obviously, but another friend recommended.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
That's okay.
Okay.
So I I was just sort of like trying everything. And my one piece of advice that I was going to say to people because of COVID right now is the silver lining and the fact that it's COVID. I know that you have to delay a lot of your procedures, but I would just say to everyone who's still trying is like, get as much rest as you can. Just use this time to slow down, take care of yourself, eat as many whole foods as you can, and just like don't drink any alcohol. Like treat your body like you're already pregnant. And I know that's such a cliche.
It's so hard. I
You
mean,
might
I
want to
can't
punch
do
me in the
any
face
exercise,
right
but I
now.
know it's a discipline. It's a discipline. It's hard, but it's like
But you
everything
will
is
feel,
hard.
first of all, you'll feel so much better and you'll have the clarity to make these really difficult decisions. I mean, that's a lot of it is like having the mindset to know, like, how many embryos am I going to transfer? How, like, these are huge decisions and they're really hard to make. And I would also say now to reach out to everyone you possibly know who has ever done IVF and have a phone conversation with them. In addition to talking to Dr. Luke, form your circle of support with girlfriends, boyfriends, any woman or couple who has gone through this before. You will gain so much information by talking to people. It's so important. I mean, I wouldn't have had half the confidence I had, even though I felt like I had no confidence while I was going through this, if I hadn't spoken to so many good friends and also some strangers that people introduced me to that I just called cold and said, can we please talk about this because I have questions. I think it's really useful.
That's a good point. So I'm going to answer some of those questions too, and also
Okay.
Kate, I am trying to form it like a heart to heart, I don't know, virtual group. I didn't know that exists. Again, another interesting thing. And so I don't know how to do it yet. I have to ask my IT person, and but then it's kind of lonely to be in your house, to not able to go out, not able to. So we're trying to form some kind of a group format and see
I'm happy
if
to
that happens.
help in any way I can.
Thank you. I don't know. Zoom in or Facebook. I didn't know there's something called Zoom in until my kids are learning right now through the Zoom in. Grading test. So the grading of the embryos depending on laboratory to laboratory. So I think some of you who are not yet have done any IVF may not know. So we grow the embryo from, we always say day 0 is the day when we get the eggs. And then 5 days later, they become something called blastocysts. And the blastocyst is divided into two types of cells. One is the outer cell type and one is the inner cell type. Dr. Luke, what's the outer cell type, inner cell type? Well, it's very easy. I love science because I make it so easy. Hopefully I sometimes teach in the elementary school, but I live behind the elementary school. Anyway, so the outer cell type is like where the placenta will be. And so when we're biopsying the embryo, you don't want to biopsy the baby's head, right? You don't want to take the head out and see is it normal. So when they're doing a biopsy, they usually is doing the biopsy of the outer cell type. That's called a outer cell mass. Sorry, I'm going to see if I can draw a little picture and then. Yes, very sorry. Not art teacher. So this is the outer cell mass, like a circle, and this is the inner cell mass. And when you biopsy cells around the circle. Now, the grading of the embryo is the stages of how this thing look and how this thing look. So with a 5 BB embryo that Kate was mentioning, it's the stages from 1 to 5. 5, the most advanced, means it's a little bit, it's from loose blast, it kind of expanded to a big blast. So usually it's from 1 to 5. So 5 is better than 4, 4 is better than 3. In terms of inside cell mass, it's graded by A, B, C. A is great. It means it's very tight. The borders are very nice. And usually it's the embryologist who grade it, not Dr. Luke, not the patient. Really, the embryologist is working with embryos all day long, and they grade the inside the cell mass. And then the circle, how beautiful the circle, is it clean, is it clear? It's graded by ABC. So 5 BB is a very is majority of our blastocysts are 5 BB, and Kate also had another embryo was 4 AB, so they're about the same. The ages. Sorry, Kate. I just want to answer some questions,
that's okay.
and please add if you have any comment. And then between 42, 43, why? I was saying happy. So when you look at SART or go on to some national website as you are empowering yourself during this COVID-19 pandemic, they have lots of division of success rate. And majority of the patient is not 25 who come to my office. Really? Yes, of course not, because majority of the eggs are pretty good. And if they are coming to my office, usually either their cycles are not regular or they are donating their eggs. Okay, we accept donation. When you are 35, half of the eggs may not be good, but people still can get pregnant because you can have sex every because let's say I say to patients, you usually only ovulate 1 egg per month. So when you're younger, there's 9 good eggs and 3 bad eggs in a year. So when all of us were 25, we're always asking when we go to OB-GYNs, not how to get pregnant, we ask for birth control. I know how ironic in life. Then when you're 35, when I'm done with my medical school, done with residency, and say, I'm ready to be mommy. And that's when my girlfriends come and see me and say, Dr. Luke, I'm 35 now. How I'm having trouble having a baby. And so when you look at the success rate of the national data and SART data, the drop is at around 32, 35, 38, 40, 42. So what am I saying? Why you pick out those ages, Dr. Group? Those are when the slope a little bit deeper, as in global data, not just Dr. Luke's patient, not just Kate. We're talking about entire nation or world of humanity. And then after 42, 43 is a little bit lower. It doesn't mean they cannot be a baby. I mean, I'm sorry, you can make a baby. Doesn't mean they cannot get pregnant. But since someone asking me what's the difference between 42, 43, certain age group doesn't make a difference. Now, we are not Cinderella. I recently look at my back. Look at this. Look at this. So as you know, I'm very into women's rights and lots of women would say certain things to me. I'm like, don't say that. Like, oh, I'm going to be 43 tonight. I'm not going to get pregnant the next month. I said, no, you're not Cinderella. Don't think yourself that way. Don't cut yourself short. It's okay. 43 in 1 month, your body did not recognize that. So when I say 43, I don't want you guys all tear up at night and say, oh my God, no hope. Tonight's my birthday.
Right.
No, and I don't know, is it this I don't know, the stories and Disney World sometimes make me a little bit emphasize some of this. And now I'm at home and I'm with my little girl, and I'm just so, I feel like all those stigma that's in us when I was a little girl still hasn't left. Like I don't know. I don't know. We can make this another conversation.
Yeah,
it's another whole conversation. It's just a whole different world. But what I'm trying to say is I don't want it to bring on to the additional stress and anxiety on some of my patients, because I feel like that stigma somehow will translate into later on. Even when I'm seeing my patients, I feel like, don't say that about yourself. Trust your body.
That's what I was going to say, is I really want to reiterate this point to anyone who's listening, is I had a friend who got pregnant when she was 45 and had her second child when she was 45. And just know that, like, just, if for whatever it's worth, they're and I have friends who've gotten pregnant naturally when they're 44 and had their babies. It's like maybe the exception and not the rule. I don't know, but knowing those little kernels of truths really helped in my mind, sort of.
Kate, can I ask you a question though? Let's say they did keep that as a thought.
I should say not naturally pregnant at 45. They had help at 45, but it still was possible.
Okay, now how do you say, hey, Kate, I would love, let's say I'm a patient coming to you, Kate, thank you for those comments, but wish you told me I have no hope so I can have some rest. I'm really stressed out. I don't think, like, what do you tell your friends?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I had a girl reach out to me on my Instagram when I was promoting this, and her question was, I've been doing treatments for over 2 years. How do I know when I should just stop and, I don't know, give up or just change my expectations? And I wrote her back that I had the same exact question that I talked about with a therapist and with my acupuncturist, Angela Lay, in New York City. She's amazing. She said to me when I called her in tears saying, I don't know if I can, and I had already been through 2 IVF treatments with another doctor. And that was enough to send me over the edge because I was just devastated that it didn't work. She said, I said, how will I know when I'm done? Don't send me on a million months of IVF. And she goes, you'll know when you are done, when you have no more questions, no more curiosity into the process. You're not even thinking about it anymore. You're just going to be done. And I said, okay, well then I guess I'm not done because I think about this all the time. It keeps me up at night. I'm still like, my heart is still in it and I want this so badly. And I was prepared to, if this didn't work, you know, doing 4 months of egg banking and then transferring. If that didn't work, I would have looked into a donor embryo possibly, or a donor egg. Like my expectations for my process were changing as I went through it. But I knew that there was certain benchmarks that I had to reach and I had to give it my all. It was like playing the hardest tennis match of my life. It was like, I can't, have you ever played a game of whatever sport you play and like halfway through you're like, I'm too tired. I like let them win. And you're actually winning, but then you like give up halfway through the game. I started to do that throughout my journey. And there was something that happened before I met you where I knew that I was not going to give up. I was like, I will try everything, anything possible, everything possible. I'm just going to try it. And, I just knew I wasn't going to give up. And I want to tell all of your patients who are watching, do not give up. Keep hope. If you're interested in it and your heart is in it, stay in the game.
Okay. What as a doctor because I'm your cheerleader, but at the same time, I have say stop to certain patients. Not usually. I mean, I do everything I can to not try to not be as objective at the same time with care. Like when I say a patient cannot go through another more, I'm saying, you know what, maybe it's about time that either we think about the next therapy. What do you say about, and I know I'm your third doctor, and I guess I'm being humble here in so many ways, even though I know you think great of me, but what do you think as a doctor, if actually I have some of my colleagues listening or who are signing in from other IVF center, what would you suggest, what your acupuncture, like what kind of doctor or acupuncturist in terms of characteristics that you think these patients who may not be in New York able to find me, or they should find a partner like me, or what in the characteristic of that cheerleader that a patient would need to either say go through the journey, either the stop journey or failed journey or successful journey, but what kind of characteristic you're looking for, what is appropriate in this
I think like the optimal bedside manner for a fertility doctor, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, like what makes you was not happy before, or what? Because I
felt like I was being talked down to. Like they were the expert and I was just along for the ride. Yet I was the one doing all the work. I was the one poking myself all day long, and with just so many drugs. And I felt like and I don't know that it was necessarily their fault. I just trusted their expertise so much that I kind of removed myself and just said, I'll be a robot. You just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And when I met you, I think it was a confluence of also that I had sort of taken control of the process a little bit. Like I had like taking ownership of the process, because I always thought, I'm not a doctor, I don't understand science, I'll just listen to my doctor. But then I got to this point where I was like, actually, I think I am a big part of this. And I think that, I can say, no, I don't want to take that drug, or I don't want to try that, and realize that there is even an option out there. So that was a big turning point.
No, that is, and this is a little bit different from cardiology.
Right.
And this is where I talk about it, and I may talk repetitively about it because I learned this from a philosopher. And one is called objective data, means what's the temperature outside. There's no argument. There's no need to argue. Just look at what's temperature outside. And that's the personal, objective truth. And personal truth are very different. And then there's the third one, which is I hate this one, which everyone's trying to say is the political truth, which is why you got that message, or how that doctor gave you that message, or how the New York Post gave you that article. But you're reading it. So in some ways, you're empowering yourself instead of talking. You're reading those articles, and this is something I'm doing in my COVID-19 pandemic downtime, is to get more education onto our webpage, so then you guys can. I mean, not in slanted way, as in more like, okay, you guys know how to read. Let's read. It's like COVID-19. I know people are talking about Praquenil and my, those are no one knows. So what's the treatment of COVID-19 if you are on the ventilator, and everyone's still talking about it right now? But there's no objective data. And same with the ovary, which is fascinating. Is the data is not great. Dr. Luke, why? Because even the cardiology data, which is based on millions and millions of people. So when you go to our convention, which is nice, American Society of Reproductive Medicine versus American Cardiology Medicine conference, is a whole different size. One is 4,000 people and one is 20,000 people. So just a sheer participant alone. And you're like, why? Well, cardiology affects many people, and not to be again talk about gender, but cardiology was a big thing for men, right, guys? Women don't get heart disease, only chest pain, right? So research on women, in terms of women research, didn't really start until the late 1900s. The first is all on men in terms of research. And not that, again, I'm not trying to put gender, but what I'm trying to say is there was lots of money going into cardiology research. Obviously now with women's rights and empowerment, lots of research are going to women too. But women symptoms of heart disease is not chest pain. Many years people start to know later. They're tired, they may have arm pain. The majority is not chest pain or left arm pain. Those are many, I don't want to go into my heart. My husband will storm in and say, stop talking about cardiology. That's not your specialty. Very serious.
Focus, Dr. Luke.
Yeah, he's outside. He's listening already. I know he's like trying to play fine. So, and so all this stuff are very important for people to know, that data, objective data in diminished ovarian reserve is not that many, because people, even with low AMH at the age of 29, can have a baby. I've lots of very nervous patients come to me because now there's some trucks around city who are promoting the IVF center, and they draw some random blood. They're like, Dr. Luke, I'm not going to get pregnant. I'm like, no, you're 25, kid, I'm having sex, you will get pregnant. So with low AMH and lots of data on AMH.
Can I tell a funny story that I think of with you? Is that I think of the way that when you're going through a cycle and you're taking the stimulating drugs and Menopur or Clomid or whatever, Follistim, whatever it is. I remember I felt like you were like a chef when you were prescribing me, like looking at my data from the morning and then calling me in the afternoon to tell me like how much to take of which drug. I remember once being like, well, I only have like, I don't know, 25 units left in this one vial. And you were prescribing like 40 units. And I was like, oh, I have to call the pharmacy. You were like, don't worry about it. Just take the 25. It's fine. You're like, it's not going to make that big of a difference. And I don't want to sound like you were cavalier about the process, because you were very accurate. But I actually thought, oh my God, yeah, it's whether I'm going to get pregnant or not doesn't have to do with like the tiniest little amount of medication here. It's like, it's such a bigger process than that. And I love that you were flexible, because your flexibility showed that, I don't know, there was something very humane about that. It's like we all have to be a little bit flexible about the process.
It has to be, because no one can promise you, and I didn't promise you.
It's not going to like make it or break it if you take
right. That's right, and it's true. And you should, and doctors
should have
that responsibility to tell patients
or make your life.
Yeah, if I can say give 40 and you have the baby, then you should do anything right now to a pharmacy and get, spend money, get Uber, whatever, and get the dose. But we don't, and this is where the unknown comes in. That so you cannot stress on that. Now. Okay, I know one more question, and I told everyone, okay, but TED Talk is only 18 minutes, but I love our conversation. It seems like lots of people are still out there watching us. So I'm going to wrap it up with a couple questions. And if you guys have any questions, we're wrapping it up. Yeah, because I think people attention span start to go, but I don't want. But they asked a question about dose. Do you remember what dose you use? I don't have my computer with me. I didn't. Someone asked it. I know you. I can't remember, but
I don't because I have a perfect log of every dose I took ever in my life. And there was even a point where I saved every vial of all medicines because I was going to make an art project.
Okay, if it's okay, if I can share with them around how much you took. I mean, in terms of
sure.
A typical dose. And Kate, please remind me. I didn't look back what you took when you were at other center, but it was around 300, 150 around. What were you taking in terms of your dose at the other center? So you don't.
I really have I don't remember.
Okay, so
another good point is that for anyone who's going through like the day to day and it's so heart wrenching and hard, when you get to the other side, you will forget all of that.
Yes,
I don't remember the dose, but it was
okay. Not a problem.
I remember it in terms of money, though. I remember when I went to my previous doctors, having to buy those drugs over the counter was like $5,000-$6,000 a month, and then with you, it was like a couple $100s a month. That's how much less drugs I took with you.
So it's about $1 a unit for everyone who are there struggling with finance or to understand. And in terms of dosage, is usually around 300, 150 when I see all the places coming from, and sometimes it's 300, 300. So if $1 one unit means $600. If it's 300, 300, it's just a different name of each medication. It's called Manipur and FSH,
right?
Which are Fosim and Gano F. 1 unit, $1, around. The dosage I usually use on patient with mild is around again 100 to 225 with a oral medication that is letrozole and clomid. This is where listening to the ovaries become important. That's why it's not everyone can have a standard dose here. Just take 150 clomid. That will be easy job. You don't even need a doctor, quite honestly. You can tell a robot because you can just go to, I'm making a joke. But like you say, I'm starting cycle, I want mild, then you don't need a doctor. Anyway, so it is important that whoever is doing your less esteem, that is reading your chart carefully and to understand the dosage and the ovary that month is giving me. So Kate did not get 10 eggs every month, like Kate was saying. No. It was a different, and I saw the opportunity and I went there. But some months she does not have that. And finally, to talk about analysis in terms of paper, Dr. Luke, why you do this? Why not every center? What are the papers out there? This is what I'm good at. This is my niche. It's like cooking chicken. It's the best chicken in the world, and you want to be great at it. I have no problem sharing with it. It's not just about business. It's about patient care. But the most important thing that paper has also been done, but I told you about political truth, so I need to make 2 points. One, in terms of the data, there's not yet a big data analysis that demonstrate one is much better than the other at certain age group. The study was done like on patient who's much younger. The problem with that, I do conventional IVF. I do heavy steam all the time, guys, but not on Kate. Okay, so I personalized the protocol for Kate. And it does, so on your data, on the research data, we have to do is on patients who are older and who have failures. So this is one of the feedback on the research. And there are papers that was done before, but there's only one paper, by the way, that guy said millions of papers, like COVID-19, there are lots of papers out there right now. Which one you're reading? Some people say yes, some papers say no. So this is my job, but I just want to know there's 1 or 2 papers out there that demonstrate there's no difference between conventional and mild on this 200 people age patient group. However, cost analysis wise, the mild win. No kidding. You just hear what Kate says, but there's not yet found a medical difference. But my argument to that is what kind of lab are these people using? Did they make beautiful blastocysts? Did they standardize or double blind studies? So did you control it, the paper? And so I'm sorry to go into that research. We can have that as a separate Instagram. But one paper is a paper. You have, it's just one thing. It's like COVID-19, vitamin C. You hear people say that, but is it everyone getting vitamin C? Is it standard of care? No, it's not. So those are what we call one research your data, but it doesn't mean that everyone is reading, is having consistent data to transform that into standard of care. And this is, yes, I agree with you all. This is one of the most frustrating part of all this in infertility care. Cardiology, I'm sorry to bring it back because in fact, most people and the most money goes into it. It does go into care. So baby aspirin, they have specific guidelines who takes it, when to take it, how to take it, and all that. So those are standard of care. Millions of research go into those research, and it's very, very well done. And I have to say, America has one of the best randomized research data, CDC and all that. So I love that. For that was the medication for conventional. For medication level for conventional stimulation is around 300 to 300 FSH and 300 Menopur. For AMH, there's less than 1. Dr. Luke, you just gave us a protocol without seeing the patient with numbers. Yes, that's what conventional IVF is to look at the numbers and say, this is what the patient go.
Right. You did not do that with me. You did dental IVF with me, which was like completely personalized, and it's like the lightest way you can do IVF.
Yeah, so the way that most,
I mean, again,
this is my opinion.
But
I don't change. I mean, conventional personalized, what does that mean? Everything can have its own label. Everyone says personalized, but there's a standard protocol in standard form of conventional IVF. So FSH higher than 15, cancel cycle. Rule. That's a rule. So they will cancel the cycle. But at Gen X, we don't, because I have had the highest FSH of 23, and that was the egg to baby. Because I would tell the patient, only get that one egg. I'm not going to stimulate you, but your FSH in the other centers may not qualify to go on to another cycle. So these are the flexibility that we talk about.
And that is why you are a rock star, because you do things that other doctors are scared to do.
Some doctors, I mean, people are changing though. I have to say, Kate, people are changing. Our new generation of doctors are changing. I mean, thank you. I do think I'm special.
You're hitting the pathway with that.
And finally is, I'm sorry, I hate this truth, and this, I'm going to wrap this up. And Kate, anything to what I'm going to talk about, basically on medication and why not other doctors do it, and I get lots of this question, and this is a hypothesis, not a medical opinion. It's what we call political truth. Who educate us as REI doctors, who come to the office and things like that. And I think that plays a huge role in the world not holding on this medication. But however, I'm also holding on this medication, just not on everyone. That's all I'm trying to say.
Right.
Okay, Kate, it was a pleasure. Oh my God, we'll always run down the clock. I don't know, but
I have a message for everybody. I wanted to say.
Oh, keep going. Keep going.
I'm rooting for you.
I'm rooting for you. Okay.
I think I am. My heart goes out to everybody. Don't give up.
Okay, thank you so much for being my partner in crime today.
And people are asking if you can save this video in your
house. I'm going to figure it out this time. I'm going to have the IT guy FaceTime me. So I to try to save it. I'm going to end it. I'm going to share it.
If anybody wants to go on my Instagram and DM me any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them more specifically.
Bye, Kate.
Bye. Stay safe.